Week 15 of the fantasy football season. Here's a few quarterbacks I have as sleepers this week. The first quarterback, Bryce Young of the Carolina Panthers. So Bryce Young, he's been playing good football over the last month of the season for this Panther team, including almost upset victories versus the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles in that time. So this week, good matchup versus the Dallas Cowboys. Give up the 6th most fantasy points to quarterbacks on the season. And the last few weeks here for Young, Week 12 versus Kansas City, 263 pass yards, a touchdown, 20 rush yards. Week 13 versus the Bucs, 298 passing, a touchdown, 17 rush yards, a rushing touchdown. And Week 14 in Philadelphia, 191 pass yards, an interception, and 29 rush yards. So like I said, this week's a good week for Bryce Young with a good matchup versus Dallas Cowboy team. And he's getting things going with Adam Thielen, putting up big plays. Chuba Hubbard's been great all season in the backfield, and Xavier Legette showed some flashes as well. So if you need a sleeper in deep leagues or 2 quarterback leagues, I think Bryce Young is a serviceable option with a good matchup, and he's available right now in tons of leagues in 93%. The next sleeper, May of the New England Patriots, Drake May, he's out there in 80% of fantasy leagues, and this week's a decent matchup for the New England Patriots at the Arizona Cardinals. I know this Cardinal defense, they've been decent for the last month of the season, is this Cardinal DST, but Drake May, he's getting a lot of yards on the ground. I know you don't have great playmakers. Demario Douglas, Hunter Henry is top 2 targets in the passing game, but he goes out there and he's been finding ways to at least get 15, 20 points per week. Week 11 versus the Rams, 282 passing, 2 touchdowns, and interception, 27 rush yards, a fumble loss. Week 12 of Miami, 222 pass yards, a touchdown, INT, 26 rush yards, 2-point conversion, a fumble loss. In Week 13 versus the Colts, 238 passing, touchdown, and interception, 59 rush yards, and 2-point conversion. So like I said, he's getting a lot of yards on the ground, is Drake May. He's been a mobile quarterback, no doubt about it, this season. And this week, coming off a bye, and with new wrinkles, that obviously happens off the bye weeks, and they're a little more confident in the rookie. I think Drake May could go out there and surprise, and he's a sleeper option this week. And the third and final quarterback I have is a sleeper, Cooper Rush of the Dallas Cowboys. So Cooper Rush, he's played pretty decent, I thought, for Dak Prescott over the last month and change of the season here. In the last few games for Rush, he's been putting up serviceable numbers. Week 12 at the Commanders, 247 passing, 2 touchdowns in that one. Week 13 versus the Giants, 195 passing, a touchdown. And Week 14 in a tough loss versus the Bengals, 183 passing, 2 touchdowns, an interception. So when you got a number 1 wide receiver like CeeDee Lamb, a top 10 receiver in the league, it's going to make things easier, and points will be put on the board for Cooper Rush. So this week, good matchup with the Carolina Panthers, 7th most fantasy points to quarterbacks on the season. And for the most part, he's been accurate, and he's been putting up decent numbers as Cooper Rush the last 3 weeks especially. So if you're desperate for a quarterback this week in those 2 quarterback leagues, or just you're in those 16, 20 team leagues where there's not much going on, some of these players can help. So that's a few quarterbacks I have as sleepers for Week 15 of the fantasy football season.